Hello, World Civ 106 classes. Welcome to week 13. And, here we are really getting close to the end of the semester. So I'd really like to encourage any of you, if you're getting behind, to try to catch up and contact me. And let's have a discussion about how much late work you have and how much I can allow you to do right now. For those of you who have been communicating with me, that's great. I would like to ask this: if you've written to me and let's say we made an arrangement that you could make some late work and I put a 0 or I didn't add the points in yet, please keep in mind that I do have a lot of students, and I try to keep track of everybody who's written to me. So if something doesn't look right after we've had a discussion, feel free to contact me again, and I'll make sure that we get that corrected. Also, Canvas, sometimes if you have late work and you put it in, most of the time Canvas is going to show me that some work just came back in, and I can look and see, and if you did all the work correctly after we've made an agreement together, I can give you full points. But I've discovered that many times Canvas doesn't always let me know, so you might have finished an assignment that I agreed you could turn in late, but it's not showing me on Canvas unless I go look for it directly. So make sure right now, because we're getting close to the end of the semester, I want everybody to have the grade that they deserve, and I want you to all feel comfortable that you're getting the grades that you deserve. And if we, take a look at your grades now. And here's something very important that I need to mention. I mentioned it earlier. I'll mention it again later. Canvas seems to keep all of my old assignment arrangements in the gradebook section. And so you'll see assignments that are not done and that were never assigned to you. Don't worry about those. Don't put anything into those. The only thing you need to worry about is the assignments that were in each week's module. Okay? And so, it's important for you to realize. So again, I'm going to mention that again later on, but please recognize that. Let's see, what else I just want to say. Okay, so we're covering Africa this week. Very important. As you can see, there's a lot to talk about. There is no Africa in a single sense. There's Africas. There's many. It's like saying Europe, right? There's some shared common things in certain regions, but very distinct different groups of people and languages. And I'm hoping that this just gives you a taste of a more balanced view about this large continent, and to really think about, just how little information really gets out to us on such a large and important continent. And I would say for America, we have less awareness than, let's say, Europe, that was actively engaged in colonialism up until late into the 20th century. If you take my Western Civ 105 classes or my World Civ 107 classes, I really make it clear that World War I and World War II were world wars, and that Africans and people from India and many other parts of the world were much more involved than are given credit for or discussed, and that Europe's full colonization of Africa has everything to do with so many complexities going on today. And actually, I would even add the Middle East. I would say that so much of the world today is a byproduct of this colonial history that's very problematic. But it's also not everything you can blame or discuss dealing with colonialism, but a whole lot. And so I'm not going to speak too much more, but just to say that as you're seeing in these videos, I'm sure what surprised you is how big of a role Christianity and Islam plays in Africa. And so a few things I just want to remind you that Egypt and Ethiopia, they developed Christianity, you could say, on their own. It really becomes more or less an indigenous religion. And that would include today Eritrea and Tigrinya. I think it's fair to say that those other parts of that area. And then you get a lot of Christianity later on that's going to come through Christian missionaries. So that's something that I don't know if it's quite clear as you watch this video, that Christianity came through Egypt and Ethiopia, but then isolated itself and then became something kind of separate. And sometimes even black Africans in the sub-Sahara have, and those families that migrate or immigrate into Europe, then look back at Ethiopia and kind of take a certain amount of pride or idea that being an African Christian isn't just something that comes from whiteness or white European culture. Islam, it's kind of the same kind of issue with the Arabs. So if you're noticing this North Africa is almost all dominated by Arabs demographically. Sudan, much of the conflict that happened in Sudan from the north to the south hasn't just been a religious divide, if you followed that at all, but it's also been a certain type of Arab racism legacy problem that has been with some of the other with black Africans and even like the Berbers, as you're seeing there. It's in a different way, I would say, than, let's say, white apartheid South Africa that comes later. Much of this is all for discussions in later classes, but they're relevant for us as we look at this, trying to think about what's going on right now. And so I guess what I'm trying to say, though, just to go back for a second, that Christianity and Islam, on one hand, are foreign religions that are also very much indigenous, depending on how you want to look at it. The similarity I would put is to say Buddhism. Buddhism is from India. And in China and in Thailand, places where Buddhism dominates, that's a foreign religion in many ways. But it's come through missionaries over time, and it's so entrenched that it's so much a part of Chinese culture and, let's say, Thai culture, that I wouldn't call it foreign religion anymore, right? But ultimately, it's a religion that developed outside the countries. Islam and Christianity have very much become a part of Africa. And what you see happening in a lot of these different countries, too, have you noticed, is syncreticness or when they bring several traditions together, and there's always somebody complaining about that, whether it's a Muslim scholar or a Christian scholar. Hey, you're not supposed to mix all these different religions, but people just do it everywhere all the time. It's much more openly accepted in the Far East. With the monotheistic faiths, it gets a little bit more tricky, but there are Islamic. There are places that in Africa Islam is practiced in ways that a good chunk of Muslims are not comfortable with identifying that as being Islamic. Okay, and same thing with Christianity. You see that happen. Well, when you have a world religion, the religions of that religion mingles with the native religions. And even as it attempts to squash out or get rid of they stick. Look what happened with Iceland in Norse mythology. There were still, within Europe, there's still pagan elements like the Christmas tree, the Easter bunny, and the eggs. Like, these are all pagan elements that have still remained within a Christian setting. Anyhow, that's all I'm going to say anymore about this. I'm moving. I came back from Hong Kong after over a year, September 5th. And I moved into my friend's house, wonderful roommates here. But since I was going to travel some more, and COVID happened, and then I've spent a lot of time in this space. So I'm getting a new apartment soon, and I'm going to be moving. So I'm behind on grading a little bit, and I'm a little bit distracted. But bear with me. I'm going to get it together very fast. And again, please communicate with me if you have any issues, and I hope you all are having a great week. We will be in touch. Again, don't be afraid to contact me, or even remind me if I agreed to something and it hasn't happened, like your grades or something, whatever. So, okay. That's it. All right. Have a good evening.